Yeah. So going into our top 8, these are the people that have our playoff spots. So I'm just going to run through it really quick and then we'll go through and talk about it. Number 8, we have Shanghai Dragons. Number 7, the Houston Outlaws. Number 6, the LA Valiant. Number 5, Seoul Dynasty. Number 4, San Francisco Shock. Number 3, the Hangzhou Spark. Number 2, the New York Excelsior. And number 1, the Vancouver Titans. So starting at the bottom, number 8, Shanghai has me impressed, but I don't think that we'll see a New York Excelsior upset. As much as I want it to happen, I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think if Shanghai had 4-0'd Guangzhou, or at least won the game, I think I would be a little bit more convinced, but we saw some weaknesses in terms of being able to deal with multiple composition switches. For example, the Genji on attack of Horizon Lunar Colony.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like a lot of people were like, oh, it didn't have much impact. But, you see the Genji get a one-shot on a Widowmaker behind Orisa's shield. And all of a sudden, Shanghai was like, well, we've never seen this before.
Done.
I guess we lose.
That's it.
Yeah, and they seemed like they were giving up against because they didn't know how to counter the composition. And I think with players like Sabiobi, coming back into the starting lineup a few weeks ago and then, making other appearances, I think New York has more than enough resources to maybe not brute strength the Shanghai Dragons like they could a season ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they can outsmart them and run circles around them tactically as opposed to, just going straight on.
Right. And I think Gamsu has the confidence and the preparation to be able to make those changes on the fly and deal with it, but I don't think his team has enough confidence quite yet to do that.
Yeah, and coming from the Boston Uprising, I'm sure he's used to that.
Yep, exactly. Next up, we got the Houston Outlaws. They have potential, but they're not going to beat the Vancouver Titans. I mean, even if Dante Muva played the way that they did against the Shock, they're not going to be able to go up against the Vancouver Titans and win.
I think out of any of the beginning playoff games, if there's an upset, it's going to be Houston. Here's why.
All right.
So LA Valiant beat Vancouver Titans by using DPS players like Shax, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shax is an amazing player. He's new though, so we were combining a newer player, maybe not quite used to the stage, comes in and beats the number 1 team in the league that hadn't lost a game. The Houston Outlaws have World Cup players, a Sombra that is becoming the best Sombra in the whole league.
Right.
And Bumper only plays goats. When you hack a Rhine, he dies.
Yeah.
I think here are the 2 people that can make this upset possible. Dante's Sombra and Raucous' Ana. Those are the 2 people that are going to make this upset possible if it happens. I agree, probably not going to happen. But out of all the games where upsets can happen, this is the one.
Next up, we got the Valiant. They're taking flight, but they got a long ways to go. The Valiant are good, and Custa has been leading the team really strongly, but I don't think that they're ready. I think that the Spark are going to kind of wipe them. They're just going to kind of wipe the floor with them.
Yeah, and the problem is, and we've talked about this before, is that the Valiant's problem is that Custa, the shot caller, if he's getting harassed in the back line, he has to focus on that. I think Custa is smart enough to still be making calls, but fact fiction, aggressive tank. If he's going forward without the resources he needs because the back line is getting harassed, he will die, and he has shown it before. Where, if you are Winston, you take a dive, you expect to get heals because, that's the resources that are needed there. Mm-hmm. But the second that Winston takes a dive, if a Sombra decloaks and starts harassing your Zenyatta, your Lucio, your Ana, whatever's being played, you're not getting those heals.
Yeah, and Godspeed is going to walk through fact fiction if that happens. Godspeed's going to put his bubble on and just right-click. And then it's going to be over. Next up, number 5, we have the Seoul Dynasty, my boys. I have faith in them. Despite what everyone says, I think that Shock is looking stale. I think that Michelle and Fleta, and he is harassing, and they're creating this space. When they're controlling teams, they do extremely well. And I think that while their GOATS is better, I don't think that it's great. And if they run GOATS against the San Francisco Shock, they're going to lose. But if they go into this, somber GOATS, or they do add some DPS into the lineup, I think that Shock is going to be kind of left in the dust. We've seen the Shock pull out some amazing DPS comps before, and they have some good, well-known DPS players, but at the end of the day, Shock, at least in this season, are a GOATS team, and that's all that they've been running. That's how they got so good. And I think that if their GOATS lacks it all, Marvel has grown enough to the point where he's going to capitalize it, and he's going to just wipe the floor with them.
Yeah, and the thing is I also think that these teams, you asked me a stage ago, I'm going to say the San Francisco Shock are better. And while I think this is a combination of Seoul getting better and Shock getting worse, I have less faith in the Shock than I do more faith in Seoul, if that makes sense. I more expect Shock to screw up than I think Seoul to do well.
Right.
I think Seoul is very good at playing consistently in terms of performances and in terms of like, for example, you're not gonna see a play like the Washington Justice will commonly do and use 5 ults in a fight that you've already won. I think Seoul plays very good fundamental Overwatch, and that's really all that's needed to beat the Shock right now.
Number 3, we have the Hangzhou Spark. We talked about the LA game a little bit. I think that the Spark are going to do well. I think that after first round, they're going to have a little bit of a struggle, but I think that they're not going to have a problem getting through this first round at all.
Yeah, I think Hangzhou Spark takes this fairly convincingly, unless, Shaxx does what he did to Vancouver. But, yeah, I think Hangzhou Spark, plays as tight-knit, takes the game, 3-1.
Number 2, the New York Excelsior. They're looking good, but they're not looking great. We're seeing the chinks in the armor.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's so hard to talk about this team and not upset somebody. I think that this team is not going to be top 4 by the end of stage 4.
You think?
I think that they will fall. But here's the thing: they're so good right now. They're still decent, falling, but still decent.
Yeah.
But with the return of DPS, I think that they are going, even with star players like Saviolbi. Saviolbi is great, fantastic player, one of the best tracers in the entire league last year. They don't have the same playstyle. They don't have the same bench. They don't have the same, they're not the same team. And when we saw GOATS come into the meta, they were still good because they adapted. We're going to have to see yet another adaptation, but I think teams like London Spitfire are going to come back with their DPS combo. I think we're going to see teams like Vancouver Titans find a way to come back, maybe not be completely undefeated. Here is the biggest prediction that I have. The most out of left field thing you're going to hear from me. I think Toronto Defiance is going to be top 8. And towards the next stage. And I think they're going to be on the higher end of that top 8. Not top 4, but 6th or 5th. Because DPS players that are on rosters throughout GOATS had to learn an entirely new role and play nothing but that role to stay on top.
Right.
Whereas players like Logix and Mangachu have been playing solo queue, doing DPS.
Right.
And so those small things that you lose. It's like playing DPS is like riding a bike, but the small things that you lose, like the timings, or I forgot about this, right?
Right.
Those are the things that separate the DPS players. So I think what Toronto Defiant is going to take advantage of is those first couple weeks where they're like, haha, we never stopped playing DPS. And
right.
then it's just going to go from there where it's they'll go back to being middling, but I think they'll be top 8 for a while. I don't think it'll be great.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see it. I think that the Toronto Defiant have potential, and I want to see them do well. Yeah, I don't know about top 8, but I think that I think that they're gonna. I think, like you said, they're gonna win their first few games in next stage. But I think teams are gonna adapt quickly. I don't think that many teams are gonna have too big of a problem, because the thing is while we just figured out that 222 is going to happen, they've known 222 is going to happen for a couple months. I guarantee you that all of the teams that aren't in stage playoffs and that didn't play at the Atlanta Reign homestand, from now until whenever stage 4 starts, that's all they're gonna do. And I think that that's the same thing that these top 8 teams are gonna do, but they're gonna have significantly less time to do it. And I think that that's what's going to put him at a disadvantage, because Toronto got to come out with Logix and Mangachu and have that morale booster, you know what I mean? And got to have fun, and Atlanta Reign got to have fun. And those teams now, you know, they got to end their season on a fun note, or their stage on a fun note, and then they're going to come back next stage refreshed, having, you know, new rosters, new players, doing new things, and they're going to sweep.
Yeah, I think you're right.
At least for a while. But number 1, we have Vancouver Titans. My biggest question is, do you think that they are going to be able to handle playing in a non-GOATS meta?
Yes, because if we look back at Runaway, right, one of the greatest series ever played in Overwatch history, in my opinion, is the series between Runaway and Kangdu Panthera to win all of Overwatch Contenders Korea.
Okay.
Because that was the climax of a Runaway roster that just came together and basically astounded everyone.
Yeah, I agree. Janu is... So, Sombra was played in Contenders Korea before it was played ever in Overwatch League, before anyone was playing it.
Sombra Reaper is what it was.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is Janu, coming from playing in Contenders Korea, he is a demon when it comes to hunting down Sombras. Like, if you watch his footage when he's playing and there's a Sombra on the field, that's all he does. He searches for the Sombra, and he waits for them to tell him when to throw in the bomb. That's all he does, and that's what he's good at. Hangzhou and Sominsu, I think that if they put the time in, if they spent these last 2 weeks practicing their Sombra, I think that we can, and I don't necessarily think that Bumper is going to shine in this match. I think that he's going to struggle a lot, but I think that this is the time for the rest of the Vancouver Titans to show that they're not just Bumper's sidekick. This is the time where Janu, Sominsu, Hangzhou, Slime, the rest of the team can really shine and show that it's not just the Bumper show, that we are the Vancouver Titans. We together, you know, mean something. I think that now is the time for them to do that.
Yeah, and if they don't, I can't imagine Tizzy coming in is going to fix that. Tizzy, the player that announced, becoming the main, not becoming the new main tank, but a main tank pickup.
Right.
Somebody who definitely takes a lot less resources than Bumper, but if those resources are put into somewhere like Hangzhou and it doesn't work,
right,
then why are you not playing Bumper?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's. I think the Vancouver Titans are going to do really, really well. I think everybody kind of expects them to not do, you know, to the point where they are undefeated anymore. But I don't expect Vancouver Titans to drop any more than 2 games next season, or next stage, and they're not going to lose more than 6 maps.
Okay, that's a bold prediction, but I like it. That's I think that the Vancouver Titans are good. I think that I have a similar prediction to you. I think that they're gonna falter a little bit, and I think that they're gonna trip and fall, and they're gonna have to readjust. But I think that once they get their footing down, there's not gonna be anything that's gonna be able to stop them again. I think that they're one of those teams where even if the meta changes, once they get used to the meta, they're gonna be dominant again. They've been playing with each other for so long, and this is a thing that worries me about the Vancouver Titans bringing in new players. Is if you have players who've been playing together so well for so long, why are you going to change the formula? And if you do change the formula, what is that going to do? You know what I mean? To, you know, what's that going to do to your team and the morale, and what's that going to do to your performance? And when these meta changes do happen, what are you going to do then? You know, you're not going to be able to adjust as quickly as you did before. And that's one of the Vancouver Titans' biggest advantages, but disadvantages, is that they have a full roster team.
Yeah, so I think that's right. So yeah, Vancouver Titans still really good. Probably will be really good for a very long time.
Good now, good forever. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and I'm excited to see what we see in these stage playoffs. Let me know what you guys thought about our top 8 rankings and what we thought about the playoffs. Are you guys excited? Let us know. There's matches going on tonight and throughout the whole weekend, so I'm sure it's going to be a busy time on Reddit. I'll see you guys around.